In this video, I'm going to show you the differences between fill and stroke, which you can find in the edit menu bar. So if you look in the edit menu bar, you can see there is fill and then there is stroke. Fill means it's going to fill whatever selection you have with a solid color, and stroke is going to create an outline basically of the selection that you have, and we'll go over this. But for right now, we don't have any selections made, and if we were to go ahead and fill, it's actually going to just fill the whole document. And this might be something that you want to do quickly whenever you create new layers and you want to fill them with a solid color. So you can hit Shift F5 is the shortcut key, and if I select that, it gives me some options. So the contents, do I want to use the foreground color? And if you look over in the tools bar, our foreground color is black, or the background color, which is currently white, or do we want to select a color? So we can come in here and pick any color that we would like. We can also do a content aware fill, a pattern, or a history fill. And then we can also have, if say we had different foreground and colors like blue and green, you could also select black, gray, and white here. So I picked a red color, so we're going to fill it with red, and then we can give it a blending mode. Do we want to do a normal blending mode, or multiply, or screen, or something of that nature? We'll just do normal, which means it's going to fill it solid with the color that we chose. And then also the opacity of the fill. How much opacity do we want to have? And if there's transparency on this layer, do we want to preserve the transparency or not? So let's go ahead and just fill this with 100% normal red. We'll hit OK, and it's done just that. So if I create a new layer, I can go ahead and fill that new layer also. So I'll go to fill, and then maybe this time we select black and we hit OK, and it'll fill that way. So filling means it's going to fill the selection or the whole layer or document with whatever color you've chosen. Now, if I were to make a selection on this layer, and then I go to edit fill, it'll fill the selection that we've created. So here, let's pick another color. Let's just do like a blue and hit OK. And now we've filled that selection. And this works with any kinds of selections. So if I have, say, the polygonal lasso tool, if I fill that, it's going to fill that selection with that color. So let's just pick like a yellow and hit OK. And so this gives us a great way to add in color immediately into our documents. And over on the layers, you can see we filled the background layer with the red, and then we created a new layer and did a blue selection and a yellow selection. So we'll go ahead and just delete that layer. We don't need it now. And the red is a bit harsh, so let's go ahead and fill that back to white. So we'll just pick white and hit OK. So that is how you can fill selections or fill your layers. Now, stroke is going to create a basically a line around your selection. So if I make a selection here, and let's just use a rectangular marquee tool, and then I go to edit and I go to stroke, we have some different types of options. And first we have the width. This is how thick the line is going to be. And basically it's going to fill in around this selection that we made. So how thick do we want it to be? And I'll show you that in a minute. The color, so we can choose black. And then the location. Do we want to fill in the center of the marching ants, on the inside or the outside? And then also, how do we want to blend them? Let's go ahead and make this 20 pixels so it's a little easier to see, and hit OK. And now you see what happens. It has stroked the selection that we made. So we can undo that. Let's do it again. We can do, let's say, 10 pixels, and we can pick any color that we want. Maybe we pick a blue. And now this time, instead of stroking the center, let's stroke the inside. So instead of that line being perfectly down the middle of the marching ants, it's actually going to stroke to the inside of the marching ants. So if we hit OK, you can see that, if you can see on your screen, there's marching ants, and that stroke is 10 pixels from the inside of that selection. So you can do from the center, the inside, or the outside. Let's go ahead and take a look at the outside real quick just so you can see it. So 10 pixels, blue, outside, normal blending mode. We hit OK, and now that stroke is on the outside of our marching ants. So depending on what you're doing, you might need the inside, the center, or the outside. And you can change the width and the color here, and this works for any type of selections. Again, if I go ahead and take that polygonal lasso tool and just make any kind of shape here, when I stroke that shape, let's just do the center, and we'll say 5 pixels and hit OK. You can see that it strokes the selection and follows those marching ants. So this is a great way to make all kinds of different designs. Now this isn't editable because this is based off a selection. So this isn't like using the pen tool where you can move these around. Once you've done that, it's going to be in place of where it lands. However, you are going to see the same selections when you start using shapes like the pen tool or the shape tool. So if we select the rectangle tool, you can see that we have fill and stroke at the top. So right now we have a fill, but there's a symbol here showing the stroke, which is nothing. So if I create this, it fills it in with blue, but it didn't stroke the outside of this rectangle. So we can give that a stroke. So let's click on that and say red. And let's make it let's just make it 10 pixels. And now what happens when we do a shape, it fills it in with blue, and then it gave it a red stroke of 10 pixels. So that's a great way, and this is an actual shape, so you can come in and edit these points if you'd like to. And then you can also tell what kind of line you want that stroke to be and how it caps it and does corners. So you can actually even change the way the corners look, rounded, or the way that it caps the line if there's no ending, and do you want the line to be dotted or not. So if we do that again, you can see that we have dotted lines. Now it didn't really do the rounded corners real well because of the dots, but you can see that you have a wide range of changing these around the way that you see fit. And sometimes you'll want to fill and stroke based on the selection. Other times you'll be working with shapes and you'll have that opportunity here. And this also works with any shapes. So if I pick the polygonal lasso tool, let's go ahead and get rid of that. And we click in here. And we say number of sides 5, 100 by 100. We can say smooth corners or a star. We'll just hit OK. You can see it did the same thing. It filled it in with blue, and it gave us those marching dashes at 10 pixels based on the fill and stroke that we have from this tool. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding of how you can use the fill and stroke tools. You can open up a new document and experiment around with that if you'd like to, but I definitely suggest using these tools because they are very beneficial when doing any type of design, graphic work, or even in photography and those kinds of projects.